आज हम हवा में बात करेंगे और
यार चैतन्य चालू हो गया
और अगर हवा पे बात करेंगे but it's something which has been existed since last 150 years. Second biggest player in the country.
in the country
And sixth largest player in the world.
Yeah.
If it's let's say an IT company or maybe some company which has maybe a pharma company, then this number is actually good. But for engineering good, it's extremely good. That is, I think, what differentiates them from other.
Yeah, obviously, is a very commendable job done by the
Yeah.
company, and I think this is a very small company coming out of Coimbatore.
Hi guys, welcome to the new Rupeeting podcast. This
Hello guys.
week's your host Chaitanya and Pratik, and today on a rather rainy day, we're gonna आज हम हवा में बात करेंगे और
यार चैतन्य चालू हो गया
और अगर हवा पे बात करेंगे because the company we're gonna talk about today makes air compressor. So connection अच्छा था मेरा वैसे.
तूने ऑन किया था फिर भी छोड़.
So how can we profit out of air, right? That's a good question, but not easy one. But because the company that we're going to discuss is not an exciting business, it's a very pretty boring business, but it's often called that the boring businesses are the one which makes a lot of money. It might not be a like next gen tech, but it's something which has been existed since last 150 years, which is air compressor. What is, first of all, air compressor and what does it do? By the way, the company we're going to talk about is called
LG,
not LG.
LG
equipment. Yeah, and this is nowhere related to the LG. Life's good now. It's LG.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, but before coming to the LG, I think let's talk about what compressor and air compressor are. So chances, if you're not an engineer, you might not have used the word compress other than compressing maybe a PDF file or something like that. So this is air compressor. Sorry guys. So why does we need air compressor? So first of all, air compressor is compress your atmospheric air, and why it compress the volume of the air, which increases the pressure of the air, and then which in turn used in multiple use cases. For example, I think for laymen like us, we must have gone through a dentist. So we have known that the dentist uses that air to clean up mouth or dry the mouth. So that's air compressor. So, but that is not this only use. That is actually very small use of it. The big ones are like in drilling and everything. So I think almost 10% of energy consumption is because of the air compressor. Multiple use cases: textile, mining, you name it, everything from everything. Basically, a very simple task: compressing the air by reducing the volume and making it more pressurized. So that's air compressor. And LG is actually second biggest player in the country.
In the country,
and sixth largest player in the world. Yeah. So there's this company called Atlas Copco, which is the global leader and Indian leader as well. But I think there are other competitors as well, which are like Ingersoll Rand and Kirloskar Pneumatic. The company holds 22% market share of air compressor in the country.
In the country itself.
Yeah,
okay. So basically, you said that LG is the second largest in India and sixth largest in the whole world. And then they have a 22% market share in India itself. Okay, so I think that is a very commendable job done by the company, and I think this is a very small company coming out of Coimbatore.
Coimbatore. So yeah, so that is also interesting point you brought up. So the company has not licensed anything from global MNCs. Some companies do. They have not. They have developed this whole technology or whatever.
Voltas did this. They used to license the technologies from global.
But no. They have completely generated and innovated all these technologies in India itself. At that technology, they have grown into the world as well on the global level.
So maybe that is the main reason why they have been able to tackle the competition aspect, as you said. They are still the sixth when it is global. The industry is comprised of all the global MNCs like Atlas Copco, Ingersoll Rand, And also, I think the company heavily invests in its
R&D
R&D,
and innovative
and
stuff.
which is why they are able to make innovative products and new products, which
Exactly.
now then they are able to
Sell it at a
better margins and
on a
widen
global
its
level.
reach
Yeah,
on a global level.
Exactly. So interesting you mentioned about the R&D. If I to quantify it, I remember the company invests close to around 5 to 6% of the revenue into R&D, which is not a simple case for a engineering goods company, which is not the case for if it's let's say an IT company or maybe some company which has maybe a pharma company, then this number is actually good. But for engineering goods, it's extremely good. That is, I think, what differentiates them from other manufacturers.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if you're investing your money in R&D, like constantly you're trying to better your product itself by bringing in new features or bringing in different variants.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is going to benefit you at some point.
Long term, at least.
Yeah, and then I think at the same time, because of this R&D itself, they are able to cater the customers. So as you said, the usage of air compressors is across all the industries.
Yeah.
So for sure, compressor का usage है across all industries, but at the same time, the compressors will work differently for different industries.
Exactly.
As in, they'll have minor changes or minor tweaks here
The
and
drilling
there.
compressor won't be used in a dentist office. So hopefully. Otherwise, that root canal.
Chaitanya Pass So yeah, coming back. So yeah, and because of that investment in R&D, they also have I think a vertically integrated unit wherein they are able to manufacture all types of air compressors, which we already discussed, for different use cases, and for customers it becomes a one-stop solution.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in compressor also there are so many types of it, like centrifugal compressor, screw compressor. So it's nothing, just the way the different compressor they utilize the energy and the way that they pressurize the air, basically. That's the changes in the different types of compressor. Yeah. So currently I think there is something called as screw compressor, which is I think considered as the most efficient one, which has the long life period as well. And yeah, so that's basically the most efficient compressor considered.
And also I think they are present in the after sales market also, because that is very important. यार अभी ऐसा नहीं वैसे product बना के एक बार दे के निकल जाऊंगा. You will also have to service it,
that
right?
actually acts as a entry barrier as well for this industry.
Why?
So because it's not about selling products and then you disappear. It's not like that. So you have to present across the region, across the country, or wherever your presence is in a customer point of view. The person, let's say client who is buying it, it also look, for example, like how we buy our TVs. Just for example, there is a new company, let's say ABC company. So you will prefer LG or Samsung or Sony because they have service center at your location. Same thing with here as well. So companies want a good after sales services as much as they want the good compressor itself. So that actually helps them, because the new competitor can overnight enter into market and maybe in product segment they might, but into after sales it's not that easy.
Yeah, and also I think you need to develop that trust.
Yeah, exactly.
That is also very important. And I think after sales segment for them is what, around 15% of the revenues right now.
It is only 15% of the revenue, but interestingly,
is it poised to grow from here on, or are they focusing more on after sales now?
Actually, it's not that easy, because first of all, it's like how a razor and blade model, right? If you know, company sells razor at a very dirt cheap price, but their cash cow is the blade. Yeah. So similarly, they on the product side, air compressors are not that lucrative business. It's around 10 to 12% of EBITDA margins of company, for LG at least. But actually, it's the after sales which is like close to 30% of EBITDA margins.
Bro, more than double.
Yeah, more than triple almost.
Yeah,
almost triple. Yeah. But actually, the company has to first establish the base, right? Without selling the product, you can't offer after sales, right? Of course, there is no product, then what is servicing? So it's a long period of long-term prospect. So company is currently focusing, especially in its export market, like US and Europe. So it is focusing on establishing that base first. So company is focusing on volume growth now. So first, they are trying to sell as many compressors as possible, even though they have to take like maybe a couple of basis of here and there into margin stuff, but they will focus on the volume stuff. Once that is established, the companies, the clients who are buying it, they have no one else to go to for the after sales. So currently it is growing, but at a very slower pace. Let's say a couple of percentage here and there every single year. So that is growing. But yeah, I think after a significant medium to long term, we can see that contribute almost fourth of the revenue, like maybe 20-25%.
So I think because of them being able to invest heavily in R&Ds, having a vertically integrated unit, and then as you talked about after sales.
Yeah.
So because of all these things, the company has been able to get a revenue CAGR of what 19% over the last 3 years and EBITDA CAGR of 30%.
Yeah.
Just as you said, कि after sales unka
that has increased.
So I think because of that there has been some
and
margin
also
expansion
margin
as well.
expansion because of that, and company took some price hiking because of they could be.
Acha, okay. Because if they are able to provide you with premium service, so obviously they can command for prices as well. Exactly. But then it's not always as a very simple for each and every company to have such a good streak. There have to be some hiccups or some roadblocks in each company's life cycle at least.
Yeah.
So I think that this recently happened with LG as well.
So what happened with them is this was particularly in their exports market only. Their India business is pretty good and decent, but export markets they kind of rolled out this new ERP system to the US North America region.
ERP क्या होता है?
Your enterprise resource planning.
Oh, अच्छा, sorry.
So it's a more of an operational thing, not from the client thing. So there was some issues in that ERP system, which actually might not seem a big issue from our point of view, but it's basically your whole system of how you take orders, you sales order, raw materials, and basically your working capital cycle is everything depends on the ERP system. So there were some issues in that implementation, which actually happened into a degrowth of the volume in companies in North America segment, because US of course means the
and as you already said ki LG was trying to focus more on exports.
Exactly,
because of the after sales as well. So I think volume growth thoda affect kiya
so the volume growth affected, and because of that what happened, your fixed costs remain the same, so margin also got hit because of that. And into Europe, actually Europe segment is very interesting. They started in 2019 in the Europe business, and they wanted it to be an EBITDA profit at after 5 years.
By FY24.
FY24, this year itself. It hasn't happened because of first earlier COVID issues, and currently if you guys are following, Europe is slightly delayed recovering after the COVID.
But then Europe also had their own issues, right?
The macroeconomic issues and all those things. So the demand concerns were also there. So there was a simple demand issues. But from the company's end, company doesn't see anything which is like fundamentally broken into the company. These are like a temporary hiccups maybe. The company is actually expecting the ERP issues are mostly behind them. There's some couple of things here and there they have to take care of, but I think mostly it is behind them. And the European also they expect this to turn big EBITDA break even from next year, and then profit from 1 year after.
And also, so we just forgot to mention that the US and Europe both contribute to around 40% of the business.
So that is very interesting because 40% of the business comes from Europe.
And if these both areas have to fire for them, only then they'll be able to see.
In FY24, on an EBITDA front, there was not a single rupee contribution from Europe.
Right? Yeah.
So it was totally its India business, other businesses such as Australia, Middle East and Southeast Asia, which is very small as of now.
Yeah, so I mean, when US and Europe weren't, functioning well for the company, but at the same time the India business was strong. Yeah. I think they saw volume growth of about 18% year on year.
So actually, in India just itself. Context for our viewers, company currently derives almost 45% business from India and 55% from exports. Exports means everything, US, Europe, Australia and everything. And this used to be like 60-40. 40 was India, 60 was export. But because the current issue of this Europe and North America we mentioned, India's share has grown quickly. But the company is poised to is committed to take it back to 60-40 as the Europe and North America will grow. So 40% of India business, 45 as of now. So in the last 1 year, that was happened. When export business was struggling, Indian business saw 18% volume growth. And in India, they have a fairly good after sales presence already because of course Indian company. And interestingly, because of that particular thing, their India margins are 22%, whereas their consolidated margin are almost around 14%. This is EBITDA margin. So company foresee once it's of course a long term plan as we time. So this also can happen across its geographies, North America, Europe, Australia, and everything. And company also see the potential margin expansion because of that. As again said, it's a long.
Yeah, so obviously because as you said, कि consolidated is
Yeah.
14 and India guys alone is 22. So as and when Europe starts becoming profitable or starts adding to the profit, at least at the EBITDA front, they start adding to वहाँ से they'll get some margin expansion. Plus aftermarket उनका develop हो गया in US and Europe, which is 40%. Just these two segments alone. वहाँ से भी you can see expect margin expansion. So I think 14% से do you have any idea? मतलब ऐसा
the company doesn't like to give it that.
They don't.
And I think it's actually for us also it's not that easy to forecast because it's at early stage, right? Company might be saying that Europe and US will turn around, but we haven't seen that any quarter. So I think we have to wait for a couple of more quarters to get the more clarity on that front. But I think it seems that in the last 1 year, when the company was struggling a bit, it seems that they should be out of this hopefully by now.
Okay, so I think these two things, domestic business strength, international turnaround. क्या भाई engineering का अपने कुछ capex है कि नहीं है इसमें?
Yeah, engineering and capex in the infra cycle as of currently going.
Of course,
So okay, now there is also another story. What happened is company is based out of Coimbatore. ठीक है, तो company has a plant in Coimbatore city, right? Now city plants, if you are aware about, they might not be that big, cater to maybe a growing company.
Space constraint.
Yeah. So the company has done a whole shift of their city plan to somewhere outside of the city, Coimbatore only, but somewhere outside of the city for a more spacious region. So company has allocated close to 500 crore for this whole shift. Apart from that, there's also going to be some capacity expansion and the regular maintenance capex, which is additional 50-60 crore a year. So 500 capex for this shifting and new capacity and
50 to 60 crores.
Yeah, right. So that will happen among, I think, across the next 5 to 6 years. But just in the last this recent quarter, company has announced that 250 crores out of the plan to 500 crore will be used in this one financial year itself. So out of 250 crores, there's two segments, 125. First one will go towards the screw compressor, as I mentioned, they are the most energy efficient. So actually what has happened is company's screw compressor capacity, it is actually going 100% above. So there is peak utilization. But demand is still there. So there is new capacity. And interestingly, the different another 125 crore is into the after sales wala, spare parts and all those service center wala things. So there is going to be that. Yeah. So currently 500 crore long term, 250 crore in short term.
And I think the short term capex which you mentioned is also going to start contributing to the revenues from
FY26. Yeah, so company expect it to be operational by FY26.
I think they are able to contribute around 300 crores odd, which is 10% of their FY24 revenues.
Yeah, so this incremental 10% and from whatever the growth comes from India business and other business. So that is actually going to be interesting, and I think they are close to around 1.2 times their asset turnover on this 250 crore going by the historical. So yeah, I mean 3,200 crore was their FY24 revenue. 300 crore is close to 10%. Yeah, so that's correct.
Sounds good. So I think company had a minor hiccup in its journey, but then again things are going to get better eventually for them if the export markets turn around for them. So I think what are the good things happening for the company, if we could just sum it up? I think international business turning around for them, which is 40% of the business, so it's a major chunk of revenue coming up from outside. Then domestic business already at strength and upcoming.
Of course, the company expects that India business will continue to do double-digit volume growth over the next 2 years. So that is also there. Yeah.
And already having an after-sales presence, so possibility of margin expansion and
the new capacity coming. So yes, looks pretty
good. Yeah, I think Elgi is in for a good next few years.
Going forward, there might be some money in the air.
Last month.
But yeah, of course, this is not an advice or
this is just for education purposes, guys,
and entertainment. If I am able to entertain you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
Sums it up for this week.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, see you around.
See you guys. Like, share, and
Like,
subscribe.
share, subscribe. Bye bye.